Flying is never easy these days. It is Tuesday, January 8th. The showdown over the wall coming to a head.
Yeah, the president appears to be on the brink of a major decision as he prepares to address the American people live from the Oval Office tonight. Also, California's new governor offering an aggressive agenda and fully embracing that state's sanctuary policy.
But all kids, not just the children of a governor and a filmmaker, should have a good life in California. Should be ripped away from their parents at the border.
How the state is boosting its sanctuary policies with a plan to offer illegal immigrants free health care. And an Alabama beatdown, the Crimson Tide getting rolled by the Clemson Tigers.
And that's not the only performance that's catching some criticism. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Supposed to snow or something. It's a mess. It's January. We're used to it. Good morning to you. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Tuesday morning. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And I'm Jillian Mealy. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. Let's get right to this. President Trump reinforcing his call for a southern border wall on prime time tonight. His address to America comes 2 days before his planned trip to Texas.
Griff Jenkins joins us live from Washington, where there is still no deal to end the partial government shutdown, I should say, in sight. Hey, Griff.
Hey, Rob and Jillian, something to watch for tonight. Now, when the president addresses the nation, it will be the first time he has done so from the Oval Office, a location traditionally reserved for the most critical issues, and a clear indication that President Trump believes this rises to that level. And Democrats are blasting it in advance and demanding equal time. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi issuing this statement, saying now that the television networks have decided to air the president's address, which, if his past statements are any indication, will be full of malice and misinformation. Democrats must immediately be given equal air time. This as the government shutdown enters day 18. Thousands of federal workers facing the real threat of missing a paycheck. You see the Capitol live there. Both sides miles apart inside there on the president's request for $5.6 billion in border wall funding. Now, tonight's address may give us a clear indication of whether the president intends to declare a national emergency to circumvent congressional approval on building that wall. That would be met by legal challenges as Democrat House members visiting the southern border voiced opposition.
We would certainly oppose any attempt by the president to make himself a king and a tyrant by saying that he can appropriate money without Congress. That is perhaps the most dangerous thing he is talking about since he became president.
We would challenge it in every single way that we could, in Congress, in the courts, and otherwise.
This is Vice President Pence and DHS Secretary Nielsen held a meeting about border security and talking about whether the White House believes the council could actually have this option. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham tweeting support, saying it was a good decision to make this address tonight, saying it's a great opportunity to explain to the American people why we need more border security funding. The current situation at the border is indeed a national security crisis. Only time will tell whether the doubling down on this, Rob and Jillian, will pay off, but it comes 2 days before the president heads to McAllen, Texas.
Busy week, that's for sure. Thank you, Griff.
Many Democrats refusing to even consider any money for the president's wall.
But former acting ICE Director Tom Homan says the president needs to make the case directly to the American people that walls work.
One of the things he needs to talk about is walls do work. Every place they build a barrier, illegal immigration plummeted. In San Diego, Yuma, El Paso. So he needs to put that false narrative that Nancy Pelosi pushed out, that walls are ineffective, they're medieval. No, the data proves that wall works. So let's educate the American people first of wall work. But we need to talk about legislative changes because families are going to keep coming if they keep getting released.
Tonight will mark the president's first Oval Office address to the American people since taking office. We will carry that live at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on the Fox News Channel.
A sad story here. Firefighters gathering to honor a fallen brother overnight. FDNY firefighters hanging black bunting to remember Stephen Pollard. The 30-year-old was trying to save a man who crashed on a bridge in New York City when he slipped between a 3-foot gap between the lanes of an elevated highway. He fell to his death. That man, Travis Sims, tells the New York Post that he feels guilty about what happened and that Pollard is a hero. It turns out the two had actually worked at JFK Airport together, if you can believe it. Sims is not badly hurt after the accident and will attend Pollard's funeral to thank him one last time for making the ultimate sacrifice. A 7-year-old girl killed in a drive-by shooting will be laid to rest today. The funeral for Jasmine Barnes coming days after 2 men were arrested. A Texas judge ordered Eric Black to be held without bail yesterday. He's been charged with capital murder. And this man, Larry Woodruff, was arrested on unrelated drug charges, but investigators are also calling him a suspect in that killing. The men reportedly thought they were shooting into the car of somebody that they had been arguing with the night before.
A former Uber driver who killed 6 people in a shooting rampage will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Jason Dalton pleading guilty to all counts against him. Dalton shot 8 strangers in 3 separate locations in Michigan while he was working as an Uber driver in 2016. He told a judge that a devil figure on the Uber app possessed him. He was found competent to stand trial. And a convicted felon is back behind bars accused of a deadly bowling alley shooting spree. Reginald Wallace arrested in California overnight. He's accused of shooting and killing 3 people and wounding 4 others during a fight at the Gable House Bowl outside Los Angeles. Wallace is on parole after serving 17 years in prison for assault with a deadly weapon. He was released in 2017.
Well, listen to this. Debris found in the East African island of Madagascar is most likely from the Malaysian Airlines plane that disappeared without a trace. This according to a new report from a team investigating an MH370. It claims that 5 pieces of wreckage, including a floor panel, were found as recently as last November. That Boeing jet vanished in 2014 with more than 200 people on board. What a mystery it has been. It's believed to have crashed in the Indian Ocean, but it is unclear why.
Kim Jong-un arrives in China overnight for his 4th trip over the past year. The North Korean leader believed to be working to coordinate positions before a second summit with President Trump. State media sharing this photo of Kim and his wife before boarding a train in Pyongyang. The visit follows reports that the next round of denuclearization talks could take place in Vietnam.
All right, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo set to land in Jordan here in just a few minutes. The nation's top diplomat reporting from Joint Base Andrews for a 1-week tour of 8 Middle East nations. He's aiming to reassure allies that the U.S. will not abandon that region after pulling troops out of Syria. Pompeo will meet with the Jordanian king and foreign minister before making his next stop in Egypt.
Florida Governor-elect Ron DeSantis set to take the oath of office today. The former congressman will take the post this afternoon and says he wants to get right to work. The Republican beat out Democrat Andrew Gillum in a hotly contested race marred with controversy and recounts. His predecessor, Rick Scott, will be sworn into the Senate today.
All right, for the second time in 3 years, Clemson is college football's national champion. So Clemson's good at football.
I don't know his name, but just a couple shots ago, we saw this, one of the Clemson players who had really long hair, was kind of back in a bandana. There's a funny clip online going around right now with this, like, wild hair toss that he does after he took his helmet off. It's funny. Check it out.
Will do. 9 minutes after the hour, all eyes will be on the president tonight as he addresses the nation from the Oval Office. Will he declare a national emergency? And can that declaration get him the money to build his border wall? We debate that coming up.
And Kevin Spacey, all smiles as he enters a not guilty plea in court, but the actor getting into even more trouble on his way home. I'm giving up on. President Trump on primetime tonight set to hold his first Oval Office address. He could announce a national emergency over the crisis at the border to begin building a border wall. But legal experts are split over whether he has the constitutional power to do it. Here to debate that is former spokesperson for House Democrats Andrea Riccio and Washington Examiner contributor Ryan Gerdusky. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. Before we get into this, let's just go ahead and take a look at this National Emergencies Act. And this states a president can declare that the country is in a state of national emergency at his discretion. Congress can terminate a declared emergency, but it requires a joint resolution. And as of December 2018, there are 31 active national emergencies. So, Andrea, I will start with you. Your thoughts. What happens on this?
If we asked 100 different legal experts whether or not Trump has the authority to declare a national emergency and build a wall at the southern border, I'm sure we'd get almost 100 different answers. Folks are going to be split on this, but what we're seeing is that The president has asked Congress for the funding to build the wall, and Congress has said no. And that's what the fight is. Where is the money going to come from? And really, it's time for Trump to come to the table and sit down with congressional leaders and find a path forward, open the government, so then we can talk about a realistic way to protect our border.
I guess some argue, though, that he has been trying to do that, and that he even said, okay, you don't want the terminology of a wall, we'll build a fence then, we'll build a steel fence. So I think people argue he's trying to do that, right, Ryan?
Yeah, no, he's gone to the table. He's come to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer several times, and they keep saying, if you don't open up the government, we're not going to fund the wall. But if he opens up the government, he gives away leverage he has to sit there and get the wall funding, because they're opposed to it. And that's why they couldn't build anything for the last 2 years. They need those 8 or 7 now Senate Democrat votes. It's a precarious situation, but at the same time that this has been going on in the political football's been moving, we've had a situation on the southern border that's gotten worse and worse and worse. I mean, now we've had 6 terrorists in 6 months being arrested at the southern border, as well as 1,000 people a day. 1,000 people almost a day are coming now into our southern border. So we need to do something about this. The American people need to do something about this.
Let's take a look at the Immigration and Nationality Act, which states the president can declare an immigration emergency. An immigration emergency fund has $20 million allocated annually. So, Ryan, I'll go back to you. Is this the best bet for him to do this?
Yeah, I think so at this point. The National Emergencies Act, he'd also have the ability to ask the military to help construct the wall, and there's $100 billion, I believe, right now of unallocated funds for the border, and it only costs $5.7 billion. Something's got to give. You know, our nation is demanding. That's why he is president today, because of our situation with immigration. He is president because he promised the wall. It's time for him to do whatever has to happen for him to start construction on it.
Oh yeah, and Andrea, I mean, you can make the argument that the people voted him to be president of the United States, and one of the main things he ran on is building the wall.
He absolutely did, and he had 2 years to do something, to start to find a way to build the wall, and he didn't. And last November, we had voters come out resoundingly and vote Democrats into the House. We won over 40 seats in the House, and that's because of his failed policies. He's at the point right now where he's being attacked for not being able to fulfill those policies in the last 2 years, so he's stomping his foot and deciding to shut down the government because of this, and it's not a realistic way forward. Democrats and Republicans have said that a serious approach to border security includes technology, includes some type of physical barrier, and includes the right personnel. So while the wall's a great talking point, it's not a realistic approach.
Andrea and Ryan, just a yes or no from you guys at 9 o'clock tonight. Do you think we will hear that there is a national emergency declared?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're in agreement on something. Thank you both for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, 17 minutes after the hour, she got a lot of attention for what she called the president the night that she was sworn into office.
Because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach them.
Now, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has a new target. Carly Shimkus has the online reaction. Hello.
So actor Kevin Spacey ended up getting pulled over by the cops on his way home from court yesterday. The House of Cards star reportedly stopped for speeding right outside Washington, D.C. Hours earlier, Spacey had pleaded not guilty to charges of sexual assault against an 18-year-old man in Nantucket. If convicted, he could spend up to 5 years in prison and be required to register as a sex offender. So you leave court, you get pulled over. Thanks.
Kevin Hart issues a new apology on his radio show for his controversial tweets that caused him to step down from hosting the Oscars.
We thought it was okay to talk like that because that's how we talk to one another. This is wrong now, because now we're in a space where I'm around people of the LGBTQ community, and I'm now aware of how these words make them feel.
The comedian adding he is evaluating retaking the hosting job after Ellen DeGeneres said the Academy of Motion Pictures told her they still want him to host. We'll see.
Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib already slamming the president on her first day.
When your son looks at you and says, Mama, look, you won, bullies don't win. And I said, baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach them.
Well, now the Michigan Congresswoman is being accused of anti-Semitism.
Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115 is here with that story. Hey, Carly.
Hey, good morning, guys. So an argument over Israel is taking place on Capitol Hill. Senate Republicans are reportedly planning to introduce a bill that would punish companies who put economic pressure on Israel. Now, Congresswoman Tlaib is criticizing that proposal, saying they forgot what country they represent, meaning Senate Republicans. This is the U.S., where boycotting is a right and part of our historical fight for freedom and equality. Maybe a refresher on our U.S. Constitution is in order, then get back to opening up our government and instead of taking our rights away. Well, Florida Senator Marco Rubio shot back, going so far as to call Tlaib's stance anti-Semitic, tweeting, "This dual loyalty canard is a typically anti-Semitic line. Hashtag BDS isn't about freedom and equality. It's about destroying hashtag Israel. And if boycotting Israel is constitutionally protected, then boycotting companies that boycott Israel is also constitutionally protected." So that's how that argument is shaping up today. Tlaib, of course, is made history last week, becoming one of the first Muslim women to enter Congress.
Palestinian. Okay.
So Beto O'Rourke is hitting the road, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Well, according to a Wall Street Journal report, he is planning a road trip, but it's going to be a little bit different because he wants to meet people outside the great state of Texas, but he doesn't want the press to attend. He doesn't want staff members to attend either. He's going to be flying solo. He may pop into places like college campuses and document his journey on social media. So this new news on 2020 is sparking some conversation online. Tim says a press announcement about an event that bans the media. He's so authentic. But another person saying he's running, he's definitely running, and that's a good thing no matter who your candidate might be. And lastly, somebody points out, don't forget Wisconsin. Of course, a little dig at Hillary Clinton there. Beto O'Rourke said that he wasn't going to be running for president after he lost his Senate race. But what do you think, guys? Should we believe him now?
Probably not.
Probably not.
We're going to be talking about this election for the next year and 10.
Oh, we're already starting. It's not going to stop anytime soon. That's great.
Jeez. All right. Hey, the football game and a funny outfit. What do you got?
All right. So Lil Wayne performed at the college football championship halftime show last night, and people can't stop talking about his outfit. So one person on Twitter compared his outfit there to Scooby-Doo, saying, "Why did Lil Wayne look like Scooby-Doo trying to sneak on a plane?" Another person compared him to the Hamburglar there. I think that's the best one. And then we also have some Kramer from Seinfeld references as well. Interesting guy.
That's interesting.
Interesting outfit. If you're interested in the game, though, I think you guys have already talked about it. Clemson, man, oh man, did they stomp Alabama?
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't miss much of a game, I guess. All right. Carly, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
25 minutes after the hour, California's new governor wasting no time fully embracing that state's sanctuary policy.
Together, let us build a house stronger than the coming storms, yet open to the world.
He also took a swipe at the Trump administration moments after the swearing in.
And the jobs report blowing away expectations, but unemployment ticked up. Peter Morici explains why both numbers are actually great news for the economy. California's new governor is already sparking controversy. Democrat Gavin Newsom taking the oath of office, wasting no time inviting illegal immigrants into his sanctuary state.
Todd Pyro has reaction to the timing of that message just days after a police officer was gunned down by an illegal immigrant, and that officer is set to be laid to rest, or actually right after he was laid to rest. Todd.
Good morning, guys. The LA Times calling Newsom's inaugural address, quote, a rebuke to the Trump administration, but not everyone welcomed the incoming governor with open arms.
I object! I object! There's no right to say about the Constitution you've already
But that outburst not stopping Newsom from touting the progressive agenda he plans to unleash in the Golden State, including state-funded health care for 138,000 young illegal immigrants, a state health care mandate with likely a single-payer plan, and increased subsidies for middle-class families. But it was his comments on sanctuary laws that got most of the attention.
Together, let us build a house stronger than the coming storms, yet open to the world. A house that provides shelter to all who need it and sanctuary to all who seek it. But all kids, not just the children of a governor and a filmmaker, should have a good life in California. Should be ripped away from their parents at the border.
Those comments coming just days after the funeral of Corporal Ronald Singh, shot dead allegedly by an illegal immigrant during a DUI stop. Here's the former sheriff in the county where Singh worked.
We have to have a conversation about restrictive legislation that puts our communities at risk. I'm here to protect the people of Stanislaus County, regardless of who they are. It doesn't matter.
Not surprisingly, Newsom adding that the wall should not be built. Jillian?
All right, thank you, Todd. The parents of a Tennessee man allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant are speaking out about protecting our nation's borders. Pierce Kennedy Corcoran's parents demanding stronger security.
We have
the system needs to be recalled.
That has a flaw, and we need to stop the conveyor belt, stop the manufacturer, and take control of it. The government owes us that.
Police say Franco Cambrani Francisco Eduardo swerved into oncoming traffic, killing Corcoran. His preliminary hearing is set for this Thursday. A judge is allowing a Christian baker's second lawsuit against civil rights officials to proceed. Colorado baker Jack Phillips is accusing the Colorado Civil Rights Commission of targeting him and filing a formal complaint after he declined to make a cake to celebrate a gender transition. Last year, Phillips won a Supreme Court case over his refusal to make a cake for a same-sex wedding because it violated his religious beliefs. TSA is pushing back traveler claims of growing airport security lines. The agency says nearly 100% of flyers waited for less than 30 minutes on Sunday, one of its busiest holiday travel days. TSA says more airport workers are calling out sick as the government shutdown, the partial shutdown, leaves them unpaid, but it's causing very little impact. Good news for taxpayers. The White House ordering the IRS to issue refunds despite that partial government shutdown. The IRS says it will bring back several furloughed employees to start processing returns starting January 28th. The White House ruling clears up recent uncertainty over whether taxpayers would get refunds amid that partial shutdown. Rob.
Jillian, thanks.
Governor already sparking controversy. Democrat Gavin Newsom taking the oath of office, wasting no time inviting illegal immigrants into his sanctuary state. Todd Pyro has the growing outrage just days after a police officer was gunned down by an illegal immigrant is laid to rest. Todd?
Good morning to you, Heather. The LA Times calling Gavin Newsom's inaugural address a, quote, rebuke to the Trump administration. But not everyone welcomed the incoming governor with open arms.
I object! I object! You have no right to say that to the Constitution. You've already broken it.
That outburst during the oath not stopping Newsom from touting the progressive agenda he plans to unleash in the Golden State, which focused primarily on health care for all.
In our home, every person should have access to quality, affordable health care. Faraway judges and politicians may turn back our progress, but we will never waver in our pursuit of guaranteed health care for all Californians.
Newsom's plan includes state-funded health care for 138,000 young illegal immigrants, a state health care mandate with likely a single-payer plan, and increased subsidies for middle-class families. But it was his comments on sanctuary laws that got the most attention. Take a listen.
Together, let us build a house stronger than the coming storms, yet open to the world. A house that provides shelter to all who need it and sanctuary to all who seek it. But all kids, not just the children of a governor and a filmmaker, should have a good life in California. It shouldn't be ripped away from their parents at the border.
Those comments coming just days after the funeral of Corporal Ronald Singh, shot dead by an illegal immigrant during a DUI stop. Here's the former sheriff in the county where Singh worked.
We have to have a conversation about restrictive legislation that puts our communities at risk. I'm here to protect the people of Stanislaus County, regardless of who they are. It doesn't matter.
Not surprisingly, Newsom adding that the wall should not be built. California's previous governor, Jerry Brown, signed the law directing local and state law enforcement not to cooperate with federal agencies like ICE. Heather?
Yeah, Corporal Singh's brother there breaking down just was devastating. Thank you so much, Todd. Well, President Trump set to take his case for a wall straight to the American people with a primetime address tonight. This ahead of his trip back to the border later this week. Joining me now is the president of the National Border Patrol Council, Brandon Judd. Brandon, I've been trying to get you to come in. Thank you so much, because people really need to hear from you. What is going on down at the border? Is it a matter of national security, as the president keeps saying? I know that will be obviously one of the things he'll address tonight.
Yeah, if you look back at 2014, the Democrats made a case that there was a crisis at the border. They wanted to throw all kinds of money at the border, not in walls, but in other technology and resources. But now that President Trump is in office, they don't want to make the same crisis, yet we're on pace to shatter the numbers of illegal immigrants that have entered the country than in any year under the Obama administration. So, of course, there is an absolute crisis on the border, and President Trump is simply trying to secure the borders for the American public so the American public can be safe. In all of the conversations that I've had with him, it is very clear that that's exactly what he wants to do.
And from people like you, that's where he's getting his information in terms of what is needed at different areas of the border. Maybe a concrete wall in one part, a steel slats in another, a fence in another, more Border Patrol security in another.
Yeah, he's obviously looking at the personnel end of it. He's also looking at the infrastructure, which is the wall, fences. Again, he came into this when he was campaigning in 2016, talking about a concrete wall. But since he's talked to the actual experts, the Border Patrol agents, he's realized that there are other technology that actually works, such as bollard fencing, steel slats. That works, and that's what he's going for. So you can see that he's come off of this $25 billion that he was originally asked for. Now he's down to $5 billion. He's actually negotiating. It's the hard left that just aren't giving anything back to him.
When you last spoke with him and met with him, did you know that he was going to take this step and address the nation about this?
I didn't know when he was going to do it, but yes, he absolutely 100% told us that he was going to address the nation, which I think is the right thing to do. Take the case directly to the American people. Let them make the decision based upon the facts.
Yeah, and speaking of that, he says that he will declare this national emergency possibly as this workaround for congressional approval to get this wall built. Will he do that? Will he actually invoke that on TV tonight? And do you think that he's right to do that?
Well, he's going to try to work with Congress first. That's what he wants to do. But if Congress isn't going to work with him, he's going to look for any other means that he can use in order to secure the American public. And if that means invoking a national emergency and using DOD funds, that's possible. I would absolutely support him if Congress isn't going to help him get it done.
And one of the stated reasons for that is this, known terrorist crossing the border. And there's been some discrepancies in the numbers. NBC revealed a report that 6 immigrants stopped at the border were on the terror watch list. And then we had Secretary Nielsen come out and say the exact number is sensitive. Details about these cases are extremely sensitive. I'm sure all Americans would agree that even one terrorist reaching our borders is one too many. So what about the numbers?
So again, don't let the numbers fool you. If you look at 9/11 right here in New York City, those individuals that enter the country, they weren't on the terrorist watch list. There are a lot of people that are coming across the country, across our borders, that we don't know who they are. We don't know what they're coming for, and we have a right to know that. That's the reason why we want a legal immigration system, not an illegal immigration system. Yeah. But when you have governors like the incoming governor of California that are inviting people to break our laws, that's dangerous, and that puts the American public at risk, which is exactly what President Trump doesn't want to happen.
And it's dangerous for the good people who are trying to come here legally as well. So, we always want to make the discrepancy that we are for legal immigration, not illegal.
Yeah, nobody's against legal immigration. Yeah. Nobody that I know of is against legal immigration. It's illegal immigration. It's those policies that invite people to break our laws. If they're allowed to break our immigration laws, what makes anybody think that they're going to think any other laws in the United States are sacred? Chances are they're probably not. We have to enforce all of our laws, the laws that are currently on the books.
Yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from the president tonight and seeing what he has to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, a judge is allowing a Christian baker's second lawsuit against civil rights officials to proceed. Colorado baker Jack Phillips is accusing the Colorado Civil Rights Commission of targeting him and filing a formal complaint after he declined to make a cake to celebrate a gender transition. Last year, you will remember, Phillips won a Supreme Court case over his refusal to make a cake for a same-sex wedding because it violated his religious beliefs. Well, today, House Democrats will introduce a new gun control bill on the 8th anniversary of former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords' shooting. The bill will expand background checks for sales and transfers of firearms. Giffords was shot in the head and nearly killed in Arizona back in 2011. The NRA says a background check did not prevent the shooting. And House Republicans demanding some answers about potential bias at the Justice Department and the FBI. U.S. Attorney John Huber has been reviewing how the agencies handled investigations into Hillary Clinton and the Russia probe for 9 months. Did you even remember he was doing that? Well, Republicans want to know who he has interviewed and what documents he's seen. And they want some answers in the next 2 weeks. And today, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle will reintroduce a bill to protect Robert Mueller. It would allow Mueller or any special counsel to challenge possible firings in court. Republican Lindsey Graham and 3 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee will push the measure. Senate Majority Leader blocked the bill last year, calling it unnecessary. And a Fox Business alert for you. The shutdown bringing Capitol Hill to a halt. But what does it mean for your taxes this season? The move the White House just made to make sure you will get your refund. Wow. And flight cancellations, they can be frustrating, but this woman goes into a meltdown for the ages. Welcome back. You're watching Fox and Friends First. First, it was pot, and now a major U.S. city could decriminalize magic mushrooms. 8,000 people have signed a petition to get the issue on the May ballot in Denver. Supporters point to studies that claim psychedelic mushrooms are good for mental health. The FDA classifies them in the same group as heroin and cocaine. And Michigan issues its first recall for marijuana products. Regulators calling back several cannabis-infused patches and herbal solutions. They're used by people who want to use marijuana for pain relief, but don't want to smoke it. The products are not considered dangerous, but did not undergo required lab testing, apparently, under the state's seed-to-sale tracking system. A Fox Business alert for you. The IRS will issue some tax refunds no matter how long the partial government shutdown drags on. Tracy Krosko from our sister network, Fox Business, here with what we need to know about the tax check. Good morning.
Good morning, Heather. Yes, this is some good news because there was some question as to what would happen to your tax refund if this partial government shutdown were to last during tax season. But now the Trump administration says they will pay out those refunds. You don't have to worry. They want to make sure that this shutdown is, quote, as painless as possible for citizens if this does carry over into tax season. Now, we know that many people really rely on these payments. About 70% of Americans do get some sort of money back from the IRS during tax season, so you do still have to pay, even though this could impact if the government is shut down. The IRS is still working under a skeleton crew. You still have to pay, but you will get that refund. It will not be delayed.
Okay, so never fear.
No.
What about Amazon taking another #1 spot?
Yes, for the first time, Amazon has topped the list as the world's most valuable company. This ending the weeks-long reign of Microsoft. Yesterday, Amazon finished the trading session up by about 3.4% with a market cap of nearly $797 billion. Microsoft, on the other hand, came in with $783 billion after yesterday's trading session, up yesterday slightly as well. You'll remember Apple a few months ago was a $1 trillion company, valued that much, now worth about $701 billion. So you can see how it has fallen.
I'm surprised. I thought it was would have already been the most valuable public
Very
company.
surprising, but despite all this turbulence that we've seen with tech companies lately, rising to the top.
All right. Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks.
Well, the time now is about 15 minutes until the top of the hour. Elizabeth Warren, now the first top-tier Democrat to officially announce a White House run. But is she what the party really needs?
We have a deficit of leadership, and we need new blood.
Well, Brandon Straka walked away from the party for that very reason, and he joins us live. Up next, he's here in studio. Back, Elizabeth Warren hits the ground running after becoming the first top-tier Democrat to announce a 2020 bid and the first stop on her campaign swing, the critical state of Iowa. But are Democrats looking for another establishment politician to lead the ticket? Brandon Straka is a former Democrat, who founded the Walkaway campaign, and he joins us now with his thoughts. We always love having you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's begin with what President Obama had to say on all this. He says, you know, we need some new blood. Listen.
One of the challenges we have in this world is people clinging on to power instead of seeing the power in other people. We have a deficit of leadership and we need new blood.
All right, need some new blood. What do you think?
I'm actually more afraid of the new blood than I am of the old blood in the Democratic Party. So this actually, Elizabeth Warren scares me actually a little bit less than some of these newcomers that we see coming into Congress right now. I do think it's a little bit, you know, tiresome that they have no new energy, no new plans, no, you know, it is sort of more of the same again and again.
We have Joe Biden saying, you know, we'd see him right there. He's saying he's the best bet to beat President Trump.
But I think some of these old timers, if you will, like Elizabeth Warren, are going to be doing more of the same of what they normally do, which is just sort of pandering. And this is something that really concerns me and something I'm going to be talking about a lot in the coming years with the Walkaway campaign. We know that the Democratic Party loves to target minorities in America. That's one of their key tactics. But I think what we're going to see is people like Elizabeth Warren and these other candidates telling these minority groups like African Americans, LGBT people, look, you have to be a socialist. You have to embrace communism, these different things that they're embracing right now. And I think it's really, really dangerous. This is something Elizabeth Warren does. I think she sort of grabs onto the issue du jour. And right now it's socialism.
In the past, she's been considered the extreme of the Democratic Party, but now you have people like Alexandria Cortez there, and she obviously is more extreme.
That's my point, is that I think Elizabeth Warren is actually sort of moderate by comparison to some of the new blood. That's why I actually find her a little bit less threatening than what the Democratic Party is actually bringing into the party.
Yeah, let's bring up that graphic of all of the people so far, and they're just adding to it. If we can bring that up as we continue to talk, the House Democrats, they're moving to abolish this outdated electoral college as well. Look at all those folks, including The Rock there on the bottom. But let's talk about this, you know, the electoral college, this proposed constitutional amendment. If Hillary Clinton had won in 2016, would they be so eager to dismantle this? Because we can look at the electoral votes in 2016. We had President Trump with 304, Hillary Clinton with 227, and you need 270 of the 538 electoral votes to win.
Right. I think, yeah, they're definitely still smarting from that, and they're going to be for a long, long time. Look, the Electoral College is doing its job, and it needs to do its job. We need to continue to have it do its job. It's the purpose of the Electoral College is to protect from the tyranny of the majority. And they'll say, oh, but we don't need it anymore. But it's the fact that they want to abolish the Electoral College proves that we need it. It's designed to help give a voice to the smaller states, the flyover states, if you will, so that, you know, if we look at the 2016 election, Hillary won the popular vote by somewhere around 2.87 million votes, I believe. So that's actually a smaller discrepancy than the votes just in New York City and Los Angeles. So do we want the entire country, the vote for president, to be decided by two major cities in the United States?
Right, which is the purpose of the Electoral College.
Exactly. Yeah. So we want to be able to protect the needs of everybody in this country, not just the needs of people in major metropolitan areas. And that's what it does. It gives a voice to those.
Campaign in all the states.
Exactly.
All the states. Talk to
always
all
a good
of
strategy.
The people.
Always a good strategy.
Right. Brandon, thank you so much. Great to have you with us as always.
Great to see you again.
Love your energy in the morning.
Thank you.
Well, the time now is about 8 minutes until the top of the hour, and Baby on Board gets a new meeting. Most 14-month-olds are just learning how to walk, right? But this baby is mastering hoverboarding. From the Oval Office, talking about the shutdown, talking about border security. The world will be watching. And we will have live coverage right here on the Fox News channel. But in the meantime, Christian students are accusing a high school of blocking their freedom of speech for a third time. A Pennsylvania Bible Club says that their principal denied repeated requests to hand out Bibles during lunch. A school policy allows students to pass out non-school materials if they are approved. The group's lawyer says that Bibles cannot be denied because they are constitutionally protected. And the school says that it is willing to work with the students. And a university is rewarding students, staff, and resident physicians who attend a seminar on microaggressions. At the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry say that they hope to address how microaggressions can harm a person's health. The medical school will be offering credit for students and a discounted rate to medical staff for malpractice insurance if they attend. Well, now it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Up first, the good. And she probably just learned to walk, but this toddler is already a hoverboard pro. The 14-month-old from China going viral. Her mom says that she picked up the skill in a month after picking up her brother's toy. Lower center of gravity. Well, now the bad. This driver skidding out of control, slamming into a railroad crossing, ending a high-speed chase. Florida police chasing the pickup truck after it was stolen at gunpoint. Officers quickly arrested the convicted felon. They believe that he is tied to other burglaries in the Miami area. And finally, you got to see this, the ugly. A woman has an emotional breakdown after reportedly finding out her JetBlue flight was canceled. Well, the airline suggesting the woman was drunk during the outburst. Wow. This happened at this Florida airport seconds later. She grabs her bag and walks away, but she was taken into custody. Well, that wraps up this hour of Fox and Friends First. So stressful. Thank you for joining us. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Bye-bye.